The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. With your hosts, Joe Bond.
You're awful.
And A.J. Applegarth.
It's Sin Shu Chu. It's a mouthful.
All right. Welcome back to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, as usual, A.J. Applegarth. What's going on, man?
Hi.
Hi.
It's been a day.
Yeah. Welcome back to, the video. Last week you had some technical difficulties, so...
Yes, it's good to see myself again. I almost forgot how good I looked on this show.
Oh, my gosh. I can turn off your video for you. Ridiculous. Anyway, man. So tonight we're going to continue our position previews for the 2019 fantasy football season. And we're going to be doing running backs tonight. But first, let's get into some news and notes around sports. Let's start with some baseball, man. So, big injury today in the baseball world. Blake Snell injured again. This time he's getting elbow surgery. He's out at least 4 weeks.
Great.
Probably out through at least the first weeks of the fantasy playoffs. And obviously if this lingers or the Rays fall out of contention, then I think he runs the risk of being shut down. So that's a huge blow, man. Keith wrote a quick write-up today, our producer tonight. He's back, thankfully. I don't have to run the slides because I'm really bad at it.
True.
Yeah, I said it first. You're not gonna say that.
Agreeing with the statement that was made. That's it. That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah, but so he wrote a quick little write-up about the injury and the impact and some possible replacement values or players. Yeah. He didn't say there ain't much out there right now, man. You are grasping at thin air when it comes to replacement value for pitchers, unless you're going to get real lucky in your league. But I'll tell you, I'm dealing with some pitching injuries, not as big as Blake Snell, and I cannot find replacement value at all for anybody. I'm just praying that, some prospect gets called up that wasn't like a big name and ends up being really good in like a month and I can snatch him, or my guys miraculously come back from injury and they're awesome again. It's bad out there, so it's a rough one. But yeah, make sure you go check out that article on Fantasy Six Pack. The other news, which I actually didn't know about, Keith wrote this down in the notes, but Joey Gallo back on the IL, fractured his hamate bone. I mean, that's usually a pretty lengthy injury. There's no timetable on this note that Keith wrote down, but that usually keeps people out for a while. And even if they come back, like they lose a little bit of power initially because of that. So that's pretty big for Joey Gallo. I mean, that's his game, is power. So that's huge.
Yeah, that's what you want him for. So that is definitely not good. The Snell thing, this is the first I'm hearing of it. So that definitely is a kick to the groin for me, aka a lower body injury if I was a hockey player.
Good pull.
That sucks. That sucks.
All right, on to some football news. We'll get to this one a little bit more later, but just want to mention Melvin Gordon is indeed not at camp. So we'll discuss at length in just a few moments. Tyreek Hill. Oh, boy. I don't really know what the NFL is doing here. They, again, have definitely just 180 degrees changed their stance on everything, it seems like, this year. And Tyreek Hill is now suspended. I want to ask you, how early in drafts are you willing to draft him at this point?
I honestly, for our best ball league that we're running in, and I know it's my pick right now, I will make it on the show. I was potentially leaning on getting him with my second pick. But I just after the Scott Fish Bowl, I totally feel like I did not draft running backs well. So this draft, I am kind of focusing a little bit more on running backs with 3 of my first 4 picks. But Hill, I mean, you got to think that if he's playing every game this year, he's going to be putting up numbers again. My only concern is if they do something like they did with Zeke a couple of years ago and sack him with some suspension later in the season, that could hurt. But with at this point, you can't kind of go that route. So,
No, I mean, I think that's a
I
valid
like him in
concern.
the third,
Yeah,
second to third round. I think that's where his value is.
Yeah, his ADP has definitely climbed. I want to say his ADP is like number 6 or 8 receiver, so he's like a second roundish player. You're kind of spot on there as far as ADP. I'm with you though on the. You made a good point. I think there still is a chance something gets released that's the NFL is going to see, and they're going to go, nah, never mind. You're suspended for 6 games, 4 games, whatever it is. That risk is definitely out there. And so, look, I think he's a phenomenal football player. I don't love him for redraft leagues anyway, even dynasty leagues, because he is kind of inconsistent. Now he's definitely more boom than bust than a lot of your boom and bust players, but those weeks where he does not go off and he's your second or third round pick, those hurt. So I'd rather take a little bit more consistency in the first couple rounds than a Tyreek Hill. That's just me. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely up there in the second, third round territory for me. The last piece of news here that I wrote down is Trent Williams is not at camp for the Redskins. And this is pretty big, man. Like, obviously one of the best left tackles in the game. The Redskins O-line is not very good to begin with. It's a bad team. The one thing you're kind of hoping for is that some of those running backs perform. But without Trent Williams, what are they going to do? Now, there was a little bit of talk later today as I was coming home from work that, the beat writers and coaching staff think that he's going to show up soon, whatever that means. He's asking for trades. I don't even know what he's asking for, honestly. I haven't really looked it up because, honestly, even as a Redskins fan, I got the helmet behind me here. It's tough to follow this team. It's such a dumpster fire. But to say Trent Williams doesn't show up, are you dropping the draft value of all these running backs on the Redskins, or are you just saying, that they're still pretty properly ranked?
I might drop them a hair, but not much. I mean, I'm trying to stay away from this backfield as it is anyways, but
Yeah.
I mean, Geis is already injured, dealing with that again after coming off an injury. So that's cool. AP is, he's AP. I don't know. I mean, he's still running, but he's older now. Thompson is what he is. I'm just not overly impressed with this backfield as it is. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody's going to produce. It's just you don't really know who it is right now, and I think that's why all their ADPs are pretty low for eventually somebody breaking out and being a really good play. All right, man. Well, let's move on here to our beer of the week. Obviously, my favorite time of the show.
Beer.
I mean, I went first last week, so I'll let you have this one.
All right. Well, the first one that I cracked open here is the New Belgium Juicifer Voodoo Ranger series beer. This one is a 7.7 ABV. It's pretty good. I mean, it's definitely got some fruity notes to it. Like a pineapple, I guess, is what this thing looks like on the top. Maybe, I don't know, some sort of fruit, but it's pretty good. I like it.
All right. And there you have it. AJ likes it.
It's good.
Jesus. All right. I'm going to one that I've had before and sticking with my 12-pack of Stone that I've got in the fridge. Stone Ruination Double IPA. I believe I give it a 4.25 on Untapped. Yeah, it's a little citrusy. It's a little piney at the same time. It's just a good, sort of heavier, very, very hoppy IPA. It's definitely one of my favorites. So I enjoy it. It's good.
Well played.
Well played.
Well
Yes.
played.
Thank you. All right, man. Well, let's invite our guest on before it gets too late here. Dennis Sosick. He's a football and baseball writer for Fantasy Six Pack, and he also does some work over on Pro Football Network. Dennis, you there?
Yes, sir.
What's going on, man?
Hey guys, how's it going this evening?
Good.
Pretty good. So yeah, we've got you on tonight as the guy who wrote the running back preview article on the site. I believe. Did you also do the sleepers and busts?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. So you're very well educated on the running backs. So let's get right to it, man. So how I like to get this going is ask you just your general attack strategy for the position. Like, look, I get it. All drafts are different. You've got to, adjust on the fly. But if things went your way, right, how would you be attacking this position? And what I want you to do is break it down first by like a PPR or even half PPR. Kind of combine those. And then let's do it on the flip side. Let's do it in the standard league. Like, how would it be different? So let's start with the PPR one.
Yeah, PPR. I think a lot of it depends on your draft position. There's a gigantic difference in the strategy. Now most teams are going back to the bell cow runners, thankfully. If I have a top 5 pick, I'm going with stud running backs, of course, Barkley, Zeke, Kamara, McCaffrey. If Gordon was available, I grab him. If not, David Johnson. But getting a top 5 pick provides flexibility with your next picks. So you can go wide receiver back to back or grab a stud tight end. So the problem would be is if you're in late in the draft, then you got a lot of decisions to make. I think then you have to go receiver and then grab some PPR backs on the back end. So I think that depends on your strategy. Will depend on your draft position.
All right. So, I mean, does anything change when it comes to the standard drafts? Like, do you go heavier running back? Do you go lighter running back? Like, what do you do there?
No, you have to go heavier running back. I think PPR you get, every reception obviously means a point, and it can be difference between a win or a loss. So I think you're looking at your PPR backs, receivers, but in standard, I think you go for touchdown production. So you go running backs more. They get the ball more often, and they'll produce more than receivers will. So I go running back.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. AJ, you got anything different to add to that?
No, nothing different. Pretty much same spot on. I really like looking for PPR running backs at this point because it is so much out there, I guess. I don't know. I feel like more and more leagues are going away from standard and doing, even at a minimum, a half PPR. So it just gives those backs just so much more value.
Absolutely. All right, so Dennis, I think you heard us talking earlier about Melvin Gordon, and I didn't want to get too much into detail because I wanted to get your opinion on it too. So obviously this holdout is a real thing at this point, and there's talk that it could be up to the entire season, which would surprise me. I think, given that although we found out really late in the year last year that this same situation for Bell wasn't actually the case, but that is, if he holds out this year, he would still be, stuck on his rookie deal. Like it wouldn't count for him. But something happened with Bell. They found out much later in the year to where it wasn't a deal breaker for him, and he could hold out the whole year. So everybody was like, well, damn. So, but like, it's a real fear for owners now. And I'll tell you, me personally, I'm not touching him in the first round, even maybe the first 2 rounds. Like, I'm not taking that risk, man. You get a 0 out of your first, round or 2 pick that's hard to come back from. You have to draft really well to make that up. Because you probably aren't drafting, somebody like a Gordon and then coming back and, you're relying on that stud running back talent. So you might have gone like running back, receiver, then running back. So you don't have that like other stud running back to back Gordon up. I think that's how a lot of people, at least, before the news came out, probably would have done it. But what's your take on it, man? Like, do you think this really could extend into the season and be a major deal?
Yeah, I think it could be an issue. I mean, it looks like it's a game of chicken between the Chargers and Gordon. He was going to cave in first. In the meantime, fantasy owners are hoping that the problem gets resolved before we got to make a decision on draft day, either when and if to grab Gordon, and then also when and if to grab Eckler too. I mean, Eckler had a standing year last year, even with playing with Gordon. So he's a sneaky option last year. I think this year he could be fantasy gold. I mean, he grabbed 39 passes last year, scored 6 touchdowns. That he could be a nice pick late in your draft to help subside Gordon's loss. But yeah, I can't touch Gordon first round, maybe even second round, because I'd be feared, like I said, to get a big fat 0 for him.
Yeah, Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm staying away from Gordon 100% right now. I mean, I love the talent. I love the upside. Obviously huge ceiling if he plays, but I'm kind of surprised to hear as many people holding out after the whole Lev Bell situation last year. Like, Lev Bell lost. I mean, he did not win that situation. He went from a Super Bowl contending team to the Jets. I mean, and
what are you saying?
Adam Gase, who's chasing things in his press conference. Did you see him yesterday? He was
looks like he's on drugs every time, dude. I have no idea.
I don't have a hat down here, close, but this is basically what I saw in that press conference. This and like a beard, and he was just talking down in the mic the whole time. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, congratulations, you grew a beard to hide all of the like weird movements that your face is making in a press conference. But dude, no, I don't understand that guy. I don't know. I don't get it. Totally off topic, but Gordon, staying away from him. Eckler, I like. So yeah, that answers the question.
There's good comedic value there. So.
Yeah. So
also what I'm here for.
So I was able to grab Eckler in Scott Fishbowl. Was it too early? I think it was like round 8, end of round 8, like 8-12, right? Was it too early? I don't know, man. Like, it's hard to say what his value would be without Gordon around, right? It's because you don't see it very often, so it's a very small sample size. But yeah, I can't touch Gordon right now until we get some good news. But I have a feeling that's not coming anytime soon.
Yeah.
Other interesting hot topic running back this offseason has been Todd Gurley. So obviously the knee has been a big issue for him. We saw him sit out the entire Super Bowl because of it, and we find out later that he's had basically arthritic knees or whatever, and he's had the ACL tears. They drafted Darrell Henderson. There's been talk of cutting his workload back, so everybody's freaking out. His ADP, I mean, he finished the year last year and done what he did the whole year, he's the clear number 1 running back, the clear number 1 player in fantasy football. There's no question about it, right? Now he's into the second round pick in most leagues. Are you willing to take a chance on him in drafts, or is this just a guy that you're just passing over almost no matter where he falls?
Yeah, I'm not taking him at all. I'm a gambler in life, but I can't take this kind of gamble with Gurley. Everyone saw how bad he was at the end of last year. He looked like a journeyman running back bet there. It was embarrassing, but I mean, he's been a stud for so many years that's hard to see that. And he's getting taken at the second round. I don't see him be taken then maybe in the third round, depending on who I picked first two. But I'm not touching him.
Yeah, I'll say this before AJ, you can chime in. We are doing the best ball league, like AJ mentioned earlier, and in a best ball league, I was about to snag him with we're at a 10-teamer. I had the fourth pick, so the 6th, 7th pick in the second round, right?
Yeah.
In a best ball league, I feel like you can take that
7th.
chance a lot more, right? 18 roster spots, it's just you don't have to worry about setting a lineup. So maybe somebody will make up for it. Maybe I take Derrick Henderson a little bit earlier, maybe Malcolm Brown at the very, very end or something like that. Just get that Rams backfield, right? But in a redraft league, I'm not taking that chance. AJ, what do you think?
Yeah, Gurley's another guy I don't really want much to do with this year. Best ball, I would lean a little more towards thinking about it, but yeah, I mean, he's going to be gone before I would want to get him in maybe the 3rd, 4th round. I mean, he's going to be gone before that. So someone else that wants to jump on him at that point can have him. And, I'll take somebody with a more consistent outlook that I like better. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, I don't really see myself owning him. But let's looking at Gurley, and we're talking about his backups. Transition here into our next question. We've got Damien Williams is highlighted along with Derrick Henry. What are your thoughts on their late season breakouts last year, Dennis? Do you think they can build off of that and carry that into 2019?
I kind of love Damien Williams. He kind of actually helped me win the championship in your league, actually. So.
Yes, he did.
I got
because he was drafted as or not drafted and picked up in the playoffs. I have to remind you that you cannot use him as a keeper.
See how you are? Just ruined my night. Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks. Rub it in, why don't you?
Hey, you won. You can deal with it.
You took the money from me, so.
Very true. Happy to do it too. So anyways,
exactly.
So I picked him up after Kareem Hunt went stupid and he exploded, scoring touchdowns in every fantasy playoff week last year. And obviously he was a huge pickup. So this year, I think he's still going to have explosive offense, especially with, hopefully Hill's going to play for fantasy reasons. Hopefully he plays. And I think with that offense, I think you can't go wrong taking Williams in this season.
Yeah, what do you think there, Joe?
So I do believe in Damien Williams more, but since you spoke a lot about him, I'm just not a Derrick Henry believer. I mean, this guy seems to have these 4 to 5 game spurts. We've seen it before, right? And I want to see him do it for a whole year. Plus, I still like Dion Lewis a little bit. I don't know. I mean, can't forget Dion Lewis is good. He just, for whatever reason, the Titans decided last year they were just going to go, here, Dion Lewis, go run up the middle. Go run, try to run over everybody. That's not his game. They need to get him in space. They need to do, some counters, some, outside runs with him, get him out of the backfield somehow, right? Derrick Henry's a beast. I'm not going to lie. I can't deny it. He is a beast. I just don't think he is going to do it for 16 games. I believe way more in Damien Williams, and I am a buyer of his near the end of the second round. I know a lot of people don't believe that, and they're going to let him pass, but having that Chiefs running back has just been filthy good the last 2-3 years, right? It's just they're always good, especially Andy Reid's system. You can't beat it. I mean, last year Spencer Ware was good for a couple of games. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. So I got lucky in a league just like you. Then it's I had Hunt. He went down, picked up Spencer Ware. He started sucking, and then snagged Damien Williams, rode it to the championship. That's basically just go after the Kansas City backfield. They're good. It's going to work out for you. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean, as an Eagles fan, obviously I have a soft spot for Andy Reid, and I love what he's done in Kansas City. He's, pretty much revamped that team into a very similar team to the Eagles team that just couldn't quite get to the Super Bowl until 2004 and then had a puking quarterback. So, we got our revenge, so I don't care. But Damien Williams, I really like, and obviously I actually grabbed him with the third pick, or the third round at pick 28 there in our best ball league, and then followed that up with Pat Mahomes. I don't know why Mahomes was still sitting there, but I mean, looking at the point totals, it's just hard to not go after what could be the top quarterback. I know I said he won't be the top quarterback in my article, but I love Williams and what he brings to the table. I love what Andy Reid brings to the table for his running backs, like you guys said. So I'm all over him this year. But instead of talking about late season breakouts, let's talk about some broken bones and injury prones. We got a couple of guys returning here with Philip Lindsay, Carry On My Wayward Johnson, and Leonard fourth and never going to play again. What do you think of these guys? Are you targeting any of these injury guys that had, two of the three had good seasons when they played? I mean, Fournette, I guess, was okay. I don't like him. So,
hey, Johnson was good when he played.
I know, John. I said two of the three.
Oh, my bad. Something I heard.
Johnson.
Two of the three didn't have good season. I don't know why I heard
No. If that's what I said, then I apologize. That's not at all what I meant.
No, I'm apparently not listening to you. That's cool.
We'll be the first.
I'll drink my beer.
There you go. Yeah, I'm not a huge believer in Leonard Fournette. I can't. For some reason, I just can't stand him in fantasy. I think he's always hurt. He's actually hurt already. I think that's
he's actually
not.
No. False alarm.
So, no?
False alarm.
False alarm.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Oh, great.
Someone tried
now
to
he'll get hurt in like 3 days.
Yeah,
no one's gonna believe.
Right.
Someone tried to pull the Kawhi Leonard to the Lakers move on Fournette being injured.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, pretty much. They just didn't tag Wojciechowski.
Nice. Either way, I still wouldn't trust Fournette. I think we know he's not a good pass catcher. He's not very fast. I think he's not somebody I want on my fantasy team. But on the other side, I love Carry On Johnson. I think I would target him in a draft. He had averaged 5.43 yards a carry. That's the highest by any Detroit player besides Barry Sanders. So it's a good company. I think he's going to be someone that I would target in the middle rounds and grab him as my second back.
Yeah, I definitely like Johnson a lot. I like Lindsey too. I had both of those guys on my squad last year, so it'll be hard to try to bypass them again this year. What do you think of them, Joe?
Yeah, so I like Fournette if he can stay healthy. I'm kind of with everybody else at this point, and I despise him in fantasy. Unfortunately, I own him in a dynasty league. Drafted him as a rookie, and he was awesome as a rookie and almost took me to a championship. And then I should have just traded him right there. But I didn't, and now I can't get rid of him for anything at this point. But he's still going in the highest ADP because that potential, man, like it is for real. So they've improved that offensive line. That does mean a lot, but the joke today was pretty funny that everybody just immediately believed it, right? I mean, because why not? It's always injured, and it's always a hamstring, right? It's just like, gosh. Anyway, as far as the other two, I'm looking at Pro Football Focus right now, and they actually have Philip Lindsay as the 7th rated running back from last season. Pretty phenomenal. I don't know if it's repeatable. I think he just had a lot of big plays and things like that. But, I mean, I think he's good. And I don't think there's any reason why you wouldn't think he could, at least return that, mid fourth round value that he's going. Like I got him a little bit later than that in Scott Fishbowl. Now, obviously, that's because of some of the, quarterbacks going early and things like that. But I felt like that was a real steal there.
Yeah, I think both of us got him in the 6th.
Dude, I forget who did the comparisons. I think it was Kevin. He compared all the teams and did some counts on like all the shared players. Probably because we were all like talking to each other, like trying to bounce ideas off each other.
Who should we get?
Yeah, right.
Get that guy.
And so we were all like, "Wait, Philip Lindsay's there," and we're all like, "Oh, wait a minute, what? Yeah, all right, well, I'll go get him." But the interesting thing is that, a lot of people are buying into Freeman, kind of taking a lot of the workload from him. I don't know if I buy it, man. Freeman wasn't good last year, so Freeman would really have to step forward and prove to me that he can do it. Lindsay ran away with that job, pun intended, by the way. That dude was just ridiculous how good he was last year. On to Detroit. And, dude, I am a huge Kerryon fan. I think he's phenomenal. I think he could be a legit top 10 back in this league for fantasy, at least, if given a full workload. I'm just not sure it's going to happen. He was the 21st rated running back according to Pro Football Focus. You know who's number 7 tied with Philip Lindsay? C.J. Anderson. Yeah. That sucks. That sucks. That sucks for Kerryon Johnson. Obviously that was a lot of the system, but I mean, it just proves that C.J. Anderson is not a slouch, right? He's gonna come in. He's gonna take a lot of the workload, not the majority. He's gonna take a lot. And the one thing you really got to worry about is going to take a lot of the goal line, right? When they get inside the 5, who's coming in? It's probably going to be C.J. Anderson. It's not going to be Kerryon Johnson. So that's going to be a huge dent, and probably why his ADP is late 3rd round, I think is what it is right now. I'm trying to look back at the slide of what Keith showed up here. So, yeah, late 3rd round is where he's going. That's probably about right, if not a tad early. But, if C.J. Anderson decides to pull a Denver or a Carolina and just decide not to play football again, go eat some ho-hos, then I think we're all right. So, all right, man.
Sneaky guy myself, but
You yourself hungry over there or what?
Drink your milkshake. All right, so the next thing we like to do is we like to talk about what we call bros in different area codes, and this is the players who have either been traded or they signed via free agency, and there is a ton of these guys. I'm just going to rip through them all real quick. Le'Veon Bell, obviously we mentioned, signed with the Jets. Mark Ingram is now in Baltimore. We got Jordan Howard in Philly. We got Tevin Coleman in San Francisco. We got Kareem Hunt in Cleveland. C.J. Anderson, as I mentioned, in Detroit. Carlos Hyde in Kansas City. We got Frank Gore and T.J. Yeldon in Buffalo, and then we got Latavius Murray in New Orleans. I'm sure I'm missing a few, but those are the big names there. I got a couple that I want to highlight, and then I'll let you grab an extra couple if you want to, Dennis. I want to talk about Le'Veon Bell. Obviously in that Steelers offense, he was just a machine. He just churned out top fantasy seasons after top fantasy season. Took the year off. A lot of rumors up and down that he gained weight, was out of shape, blah, 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 whatever, just partying too hard. All the pictures you see now, he looks all right. He looks like he's in shape. I don't think I'm too worried about that. But, what do you expect from Le'Veon Bell this year, knowing that he's not with the Steelers, in a totally different offense in the Jets that, not as good as the Steelers, let's be honest. And he had the year off. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think the Giants, Giants, oh my God. The Jets offensive line scares me, and I think it should scare Le'Veon Bell as well. Yeah, they ranked as one of the worst in the league, while the Steelers are always in the top 10. I mean, he'll finish the top 12 back based on volume alone. His numbers probably won't look pretty, but he'll probably finish with like 1,000 yards rushing and maybe 68 touchdowns just because of the volume he's going to get.
Yeah, I already said it. I'm not really big on Bell this year, but yeah, I mean, of these guys, what do you think of Ingram? I mean, I really like this spot for Ingram. I think this is a run first offense, obviously. They don't really seem to have many receiving weapons aside from the guys they drafted this year. I mean, what do you think of Ingram's upside here?
Yeah, I think I love to have Ingram on my fantasy team this year. I think he's going to be successful in that run heavier approach by the Ravens. They averaged a crazy 230 rushing yards per game last season. I think Ingram's going to have a feast this year. I mean, he has some risk. He's 30 years old, but I think he's reliable, and I think you could count on him to have a good season this year.
Yeah, the other thing to think about Ingram is that, because he was in that large timeshare with Kamara, and if anything, Kamara got more of the workload. He's 30 years old, but he doesn't have the workload behind him of a 30-year-old running back. So sometimes that can make all the difference in the world. And I'm with you, man. I like him in this spot. I think he's going a little too late. That run-heavy offense is going to be nasty for him, and it just opens up space that I don't think he's ever seen, even with the Saints. He's not going to see holes like he did, where they're going to have to worry about covering Lamar Jackson as well. The other guy that I have highlighted here out of all these is Tevin Coleman. We've seen Coleman succeed in Atlanta when Devonta Freeman was injured. We've also seen Coleman just fall flat on his face. So it's kind of an interesting one here. And then it's a fairly crowded backfield. They signed McKinnon last year. He got hurt in the preseason, so he's still there. But all the talk is that Coleman's the guy, and but they still got Breida. There's somebody else too, but there's talk that he's pretty much not going to make the team. But again, it's a crowded offense, but it's a Shanahan offense too, so that's a boost, right? And obviously, Shanahan is familiar with Coleman and brought him in for that reason. So what's your thoughts on Coleman?
Yeah, it seems Coleman's always been part of a running back committee, first with the Falcons and now, unfortunately, with the 49ers. I mean, he knows the offense there with Shanahan. He could play 3 downs. He's going to have a good offensive line there. And I think, with Jimmy G coming back at quarterback, that they have an exciting offense. Their defense is not good, so I see him passing a lot. And I think Coleman would be a nice PPR option for people. I think I would worry about McKinnon being not much of a factor, but I think Breida would be more of a factor than McKinnon will.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Raheem Mostert.
I am. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Or your boy Alfred Morris is apparently on the roster right now.
No, definitely not him.
Kyle Juszczyk?
Hey, I guarantee he's going to make the team.
Juszczyk? Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
He'll be good for like 2 to 3 catches a game, 15 yards.
A couple touchdown vultures.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, let's move on to this next group here.
Okay.
But
I was gonna let Dennis, before we moved on. I was gonna let Dennis, take one, maybe 2 more of these guys if he wants to have any more talk on, like, Jordan Howard, Kareem Hunt, C.J. Anderson, Carlos Hyde, Frank Gore, Yeldon, or Murray. Like, you got anything else to add on any of those guys?
Yeah, I think I would be afraid to take Carlos Hyde. I don't think he's actually a good running back anymore. He wasn't good with the Browns last year, averaging 3 yards a carry, and then he got traded to Jacksonville. Didn't do well there either. I mean, he could be a possible handcuff to Damien Williams, but I just think Hyde's is horrible. I'm surprised they even took the chance with him, but I wouldn't even draft Hyde in my team.
Could Hyde actually buck the trend of, like, if the starter goes down, which seems to happen every year for the Chiefs, the backup just is amazing? Could Hyde, like, break that trend?
Yeah, he sucks.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
He's going to ruin Andy Reid's system and streak.
That's right. Yeah, he was horrible in Cleveland. I couldn't stand him. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
Oh, he
speaking
was-
of Cleveland, Kareem Hunt, I think with the Duke Johnson fiasco going on here, I think Duke will get traded. And I think Kareem Hunt will take his spot as a catching back this season. I think he'll be a guy to own, in the second half of the year, or at least the third quarters of the year.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt could come in and really be that Damien Williams or CJ Anderson, like fantasy playoffs, ride you to a championship guy. I mean, obviously he's got the talent. I still believe in Nick Chubb too. So it'll be interesting. They have so many weapons now in Cleveland. It's scary to think about what they could do. But yeah, so let's jump in here and look at a couple of the rookies that we've got coming in for this year. We got Josh Jacobs in Oakland. We got David Montgomery in Chicago. Miles Sanders in Philly. Damien Harris in New England. Alexander Madison in Minnesota. Devin Singletary in Buffalo. Benny Snell Jr. over in Pittsburgh. And Raquel Armstead in Jacksonville, or they're basically the guys we had listed here. I mean, the two big ones that stand out to me the most are Josh Jacobs and David Montgomery. I mean, what are your thoughts on these two guys as far as, what they're going to contribute, if they're going to be the main go-to guys and whatever?
Yeah, I think Jacobs was the first running back taken off the board in the draft. I think he'll be the featured back of the Raiders. He has the tools to be an every down back, and I could see him drafted as running back 2. I think Gruden will want to prove his point of drafting Jacobs and feeding the ball a lot this year.
Yeah, Jacobs is definitely the rookie to own. I know it's the Raiders, but Jacobs feels like that rookie running back that's gonna just blow up this year. So, I'm right there with you on that one, Dennis.
What about Montgomery? You think he's going to be kind of the better version of Jordan Howard, or similar to when Howard was good with Chicago, and aside from last season?
Yeah, I think Montgomery is going to, obviously you said, take over a Jordan Howard role. I think he catches passes better than Howard, so that's a plus for him. But he's going to have a lot to learn. I think he lacks breakaway speed, but he still has to share touches with, obviously, Cohen and even Mike Davis as well. So I think he may start off slow, but toward the end of the year, I think he's someone that could produce maybe as a flex in your lineup.
Okay.
I'm a little iffy on Montgomery. Like, I don't really know. I mean, they liked Cohen and they used Cohen, a lot last year. Obviously they're bringing in Montgomery to fill that Jordan Howard role, but they didn't use it as much as I thought they would last year. Maybe it's because of Jordan Howard. So maybe, Montgomery gets the workload that we all thought Jordan Howard was going to get last year. It is interesting. We've got the I'm looking at Player Profiler right now, and his comp is Carlos Hyde. As much as we as we hate Carlos Hyde, but come on, man, Carlos Hyde back in the day was a monster. So that's not a bad comp at all. But this guy, I mean, Iowa Hawkeye. He was a stud in college, man. Just definitely. I would say Cyclone. Sorry, I mixed those up. He didn't get a lot of fanfare in college because it was Iowa State, right? Especially on the East Coast. Like, you just don't see those games very often. But, you watch a highlights on ESPN late night after that 8:00, 9:00 game. He was always there, man. He was such a stud. He was just running through people. So I'm not sure with the workload for him, but I actually think he's the better running back of the two, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see Armstead. Honestly, I think we've already kind of touched on how glorious Leonard Fournette is for his owners, and how many points he puts up in a minimalist way. So I really like Raquel's upside. You don't have a Yeldon there anymore. You don't have our boy Carlos Hyde, getting that 3 yards per carry. So, I think if he can pick up this offense pretty quick, and Fournette does start the year healthy, and then takes his usual 6 to 12 games off, Armstead could be pretty valuable late round pick.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, Fournette's hurt more than he's healthy, so anybody in that backfield would be successful.
Yeah.
If I were drafting Fournette, I would make sure I get Armstead. There's no, if you draft somebody like that who's constantly injured, you've got to take the handcuff. I'm not a handcuff guy, but in that case, I would be. The one question I want to ask you guys, and because we've mentioned Jordan Howard already, I want to ask both of you that Philly backfield. And AJ, I want you to answer first. Actually, you're a Philly boy. What do you think is going to happen here, man? Who's going to be the guy to own? Or are we just running for the hills? Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders, or Darren Sproles? Yeah.
No, stop. Darren Sproles is like the feel-good story of the year guy that should be just signed for a one-day contract so he can retire an Eagle.
He's going to be the guy who gets 12 touches for 3 touchdowns in the first week and piss everybody off, because guess what? I think he did it last year.
Yeah,
Right.
probably. That wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I'd be surprised if Sproles makes the team. I feel like they may just put him on for the sake of it, like I said. But I do like Howard. Like I said, I feel like he started kind of tailing off like his production every year in Chicago. And then he had Derrick Cohen there, really step up last year, especially in, the PPR position, as a third down and or receiving back. I'm interested to see what Sanders does in training camp and see, how he comes out of the gates here. Because, this is a guy that backed up Saquon at Penn State. So, he was kind of in the shadows there. And then he had a pretty good standout year last year as well. But, I mean, there's so many running backs that Philly has that are not great, but, on that kind of average tier. With Josh Adams has shown some flashes. You got Corey Clement that's shown flashes. You got Wendell Smallwood. They drafted Donnell Pumphrey a few years ago out of, I believe, San Diego State, but he's just been an injury, risk every year. So he hasn't really gotten going. So, I think it just boils back down to Howard and Sanders, the two of them, and the other guys might just make the practice squad for now. But I don't know. I mean, Philly likes their running backs for whatever reason. I feel like, they're just playing their own little fantasy football league with stashing running backs all over the place. But again, they're like not great backs. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think where both of those guys are going, I'm probably, the way I'm going to draft the majority of my teams, I won't be owning any of them, because that will be where I'm targeting my receivers most likely, maybe my first quarterback, maybe my tight end, something like that. Like, those guys are going to go by me. I'm going to have the running backs I want to rely on before I get to guys like them. Just because it's such an unknown. And we've seen it before. Like, even when you think you know the guy, like last year, we all thought it was Ajayi. And it wasn't. Not even close. So they just like to play the hot hand, play matchups. It's almost like a little bit of a Bill Belichick type of deal there with the running backs. And it's just a situation I try to avoid. So, yeah, good luck trying to figure that one out, everyone.
I agree. Stay away from those.
Yeah.
I can't stand those running back by committees. For fantasy overs, it drives you nuts.
Yeah. So, all right, man, we're going to finish up here with...
I guess that was me. Did everybody hear that?
What? I have no idea what that was.
Nobody heard that? Okay.
I heard like a beep, beep, beep or something. Is that you?
No, it was that horn on the Fantrax thing.
Oh.
Mark just
I
made his
totally
pick, and then
did.
out of nowhere, I had the window down. And it was just like,
All right.
It's like,
Well, that's why I heard beep beep. I heard this burp, burp, but that's what that was. Okay,
oh,
interesting. Yes,
must
if you're
have
ever
had
drafting on
Sonny
Fantrax,
Michel.
turn your
Yeah.
volume
hard
down.
way, too.
That horn is loud as hell.
Yeah. You had
Anyway,
Sonny Michel on your queue, I'm guessing.
me? That was me. I don't have the draft on right now.
Oh.
I'll get there when I get there. No,
right.
you're not making me drink tonight any more than I already am. Little inside joke. I'll explain later, everyone. All right, Dennis, let's finish things up here. So we like to finish up with one reach and one steal of the draft currently. So the reach is somebody who is being reached on in draft, somebody going a little too early for your taste, and then a steal is obviously the opposite, somebody going later who you think could really go above his ADP value. And so we'll let you start here with a guy that you think is being reached on in drafts currently.
I think I'm going to go with Le'Veon Bell. He's drafted number 7 running back right now, according to Fantasy Football Calculator, and I wouldn't touch him in the top 10. I think it would drop him, in the middle double digits, and because of that offense that they have, offensive line is horrible. He'll get the volume, but he's not going to produce like a first round back.
Interesting. All right, I don't totally disagree, but it's hard, man. I was telling you before the show, like I was looking at these ADPs on Fantasy Football Calculator. That's where I like to grab my ADP values from now. I pretty much agree with 99% of them. They pretty much line up with my rankings, so it's hard to say. But I'm gonna take a stab at some people. But AJ, what you
got? Reach. I'm going with Aaron Jones.
Yeah, that was actually what I was looking at.
I mean, I just don't get the hype on this guy. He had 2 games last year that were above 20 points based on the fantasy 6-pack scoring for the ESPN league, but a 24-8 and a 30.7. He had 4 games that he missed, basically 5, because he had a 0.8 points against Chicago in Week 15, I think, when he got injured. So
I think he was wasn't he suspended?
No,
the year before.
Well,
that might have been the year before.
No, he missed the first 2 games. I think that was a
suspension.
suspension.
That was a suspension, yes.
And then he missed the last 2 games because I think he got injured in 15. So I don't know. Green Bay has never been really a running offense, until you go back to the days of like Amon Green. So I just don't like this guy. I don't know what the hype is on him.
I'll say I thought about him. Then I did a little more looking at him, a little deeper dig here, and I pulled up Pro Fantasy Football. He's the number 4 rated running back last year, according to Pro Football Focus. Like, holy crap. I was like, wow. And you think about it, right? So suspended the first 2 games. And when he came back, they kept trying to play Jamal Williams. They kept trying to play Jamal Williams, who was horrible. So he wasn't getting his. And then when he finally got the full workload, he crushed it and then got hurt. So, it's like, okay. There is the risk, though, new coaching staff, you don't quite know. Aaron Rodgers is going to be on a complete warpath to try to, just go against all the critics right now. I think he's going to just be on a mission. So there is that risk. I'm with it. His ADP is like end of the second round right now. That seems a little high. There's some other guys right behind him who I think I like it a little bit more. But
yeah,
it's tough, man. These ADPs, they're so close with the running backs compared to my rankings. But he is one that I'm sort of iffy about. Mine, though, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, is Derrick Henry. I didn't intend to talk about Derrick Henry as much as I did earlier, but I just don't really believe in him in a 16-game season. And, I talk about looking at Pro Football Focus grades. He's number 3. Not trying to give too much Pro Football Focus away here. They're probably going to kill me after this. But So number 3, that actually surprised the hell out of me, considering he was like dead man walking the first, 11, 12 weeks of the season. Nobody wanted to touch this guy. He was dropped in leagues. Dropped. And I had no problem with it. He was nothing. And then, come week, what was it? 14 even. He just blew up. And that's everybody's like, yeah, that's what we were waiting for. We knew that was going to be possible. Like, no, you didn't. 17 rushes for 238 yards. That's crazy. And then backs up with 33 for 170. Like, he had an amazing last 4 weeks. I actually thought it was more than that. I thought he had more good weeks than that. It's only 4 weeks, and everybody's drafting him like he's a top 12 running back. Get out of here. So,
yeah, I can get on board with that.
All right, Dennis. Let's finish up here. Steal. Who's your steal of the draft right now?
All right, I want to go with Deontay Foreman of Houston. I think he's going to have a good year. He's recovering from injury. Alfred Blue is now gone, and Lamar Miller is nothing special. So I think with Foreman getting healthy, he's going to take over that role for Miller and be a very sneaky guy to have in fantasy this year.
Not worried about the Achilles?
Nah, he's looking so far so good. Knock on wood on that.
All right, man. There's not a lot of people that have come back and done anything after an Achilles injury.
Yeah, that's true. But so far so good. I'm crossing my fingers.
All right, AJ, what you got?
I'm going to go with my third running back pick in the Scott Fishbowl League, and that is Mr. Ronald Jones. Having Bruce Arians there, I feel like just makes that offense better. I still don't love Jameis Winston, but everybody else around him, I think, can have a really solid season. I mean, I think he can have a solid season too, but I just don't really care for him. But I like Jones a lot this year. We didn't really get to see much out of him, yet. And Peyton Barber's not really anything special. So, I don't feel like he's going to have a lot of challenge there to take on that starting role.
Interesting. Yeah, I was buying into the hype a little while ago, and now I am not. Everything you read it's all Peyton Barber, but look, I agree with you, man. He's just not very good. So if Ronald Jones can improve at all, I feel like they're just going to give it to him.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cheat here and give you two. So my first initial one was Mark Ingram, and Dennis, you already kind of mentioned that. So I want to give somebody else. And it's Kalen Ballage, the Miami backup right now. Kenny Drake is all right, man. Like that's all I can say. I mean, he's like the 50th, best running back, rated right now. It's just I feel like Drake should be good, but it just never seems to work out for me. He has like a few breakout games. He busts a couple long runs. That's him. Ballage, I don't know. I just feel like he's another one of those like Ronald Jones types. It's just the guy in front of him isn't all that great. You just kind of see it flip flopping on the Dolphins this year, and maybe he's going to get a chance and really, be the guy this year. So, and apparently, according to what I'm reading on Twitter, Ballage got the first team snaps today at Dolphins camp. So, hey, you never know.
Interesting.
Very interesting, right? So,
Okay.
All right, man. Well, that's all we got for the show, Dennis. I want to thank you for coming on. Before you go, why don't you let everybody know where they can find your stuff and, give me your Twitter handle and everything.
Cool. Hey, thanks, guys, again for having me on. It's been a blast. I hope we can do it again soon. Fantasy Freaks and Geeks can follow me on Twitter at call_me_sos. You look for my fantasy baseball and football articles on the fantasysixpack.net and also my Browns and fantasy football content on profootballnetwork.com. Enjoy it, guys. Let's do it again. Good luck in your fantasy football leagues. Well, at least when you're not facing me.
All right.
Indeed, Dennis. Always a pleasure having you on. The good news, you're up on drafting on the Best Ball League. I made my 2 picks and pretty happy with them. So
Good. I could do that right now.
All right, man.
all right.
Have
Thanks,
a good
guys.
night, man. See ya.
Have a good night. Thank you. Bye.
All right, AJ. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. It was a good discussion. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed it. You got anything to add before we close it out?
Nah, man, I'm good.
All right. See y'all next week for the wide receiver preview with, I believe, Samir is coming on for that one. So it should be a good time. So talk to y'all later. See you.